our program for the evening. It's open slide night. How do we want to facilitate this?
So one of us can run the Google Drive and share the screen and do it based on the folder. Generally, everyone's uploaded their photos to a folder, so this time it'll be easier to just go through everything and know who's this. Because last year it was kind of like a roulette of, all right, who's like this, talk about it. So I'm happy to drive that, or
I can drive it.
yeah.
If you want it. So open slide night, what is that? Folks submitted their slides. If you did submit your slide, you're going to do it tonight. It looks like, and I'm going to share screen. We'll pull up the first round. It looks like we've got a fair amount of participants. Oops. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks here. So I'm going to minimize this. And I guess what we can start to do is talk about these things. And if it's your slide, come on up to the front. We've got the camera on the podium, so you can talk. The microphone will be good. And our theme is mountain modernism. So I'm anxious to see what everyone's thoughts are, or whatever we're looking to share here. I think there's going to be some unusual and interesting projects and buildings, and maybe even a few discoveries along the way. So I'm going to start it off here with Adam Stevens.
All right. Be on the spot. Make sure that it is viewable here. So who in the room here has heard of Mission 66? Not many. Yeah. All right. So who here has been to a national park? All right, good, good. Have you ever looked up from the wildlife and the trees and the mountains and everything and actually noticed that there are buildings there? Well, actually, some pretty cool buildings if you start to pay attention. And let's go to the next slide here. I took this a long time ago when my wife and I were just kids. We took a trip to Yellowstone, and I was amazed by this space. This is in a part of Yellowstone called Canyon Village, and I thought that this lighting and the open beams and everything, and this is really before I had any kind of appreciation for mid-century modern, so it just struck me as really cool, so I took a picture of it. And if you go to the next one, this is also another photo from the same building. But I didn't realize that there was a larger story to this national park architecture until many years later when I actually wrote an article for Modern in Denver magazine. I collaborated with a great photographer named David Lauer, who actually did the photography because he's a way better photographer than I am. And we focused on the visitor centers in Colorado's national parks. So at the end of my presentation here, I actually have a whole stack of the issue that I wrote the article for. So if anybody wants their own copy, I'm happy to give you one. But in doing that article, what the article was about was a program called Mission 66. And in 1956, Congress realized, well, Congress and really our leadership realized that our national parks were falling apart. They were pretty rustic. And they were, after World War II, becoming extraordinarily popular. Everybody wanted to go see the national parks. You know, pack the family up, pull their little camper trailer out into nature and experience what our country had to offer. Unfortunately, there was no infrastructure in the national parks. Rutted dirt roads, there weren't visitor centers or campgrounds or any of the things that we take for granted today. So, Congress actually passed a bill called Mission 66, which was a 10-year-long, $1 billion program to add infrastructure to the national parks. And so everything that you take for granted about the national parks today, the campgrounds, the roads, the little booths that you have to pay your fee and get your little map, and even the graphics and the signage and everything happened during that Mission 66 program. And kind of the central, or not central, but the crown jewel of what came of that were the visitor centers in the national parks. The visitor centers were meant to be kind of your first stop at the park, where you got acquainted, you could speak to rangers, pick up maps, you could see exhibits and things like that. And so then you would kind of go off into the national park informed and ready to learn and ready to enjoy. And while a lot of the stuff in the Mission 66 program was designed by the National Park Service, not all the visitor centers were. In fact, a lot of the visitor centers were designed by some of the greatest modernist architects of the time. And so that was true in Colorado too. Now, I don't know who designed Canyon Village, but if we go to the next slide here, we have the Alpine Visitor Centers. Anybody been here? This is in Colorado. This is at the top of Trail Ridge Road. So when you go up to the top of Trail Ridge Road and there's a little parking lot, there's actually two buildings. There's this visitor center and then there's like a retail concession building next to it. But this building was designed by an architect that, if you're familiar with Colorado's modernists, you may know. His name was William Macho.
That's right.
And you might notice that the logs on the roof are kind of an unusual feature. I thought, this is something that was added later or something. What a weird feature. But actually, if you go to the next slide, we'll just go look at a few photos of the building. Here are some original drawings I actually found these in Macho's archive of the building, and he shows the logs on the roofs of the building. The idea is that there is, this is a mid-century modern building. This is basically a post and beam building. There is so much pressure from the winds up there that if there weren't all this extra weight on the roof would just be blown off the building. Mm-hmm. So the logs actually, they're not just decorative, they have a purpose on the roof.
Do they help with the snow at all? Do you know? I would wonder if they would break it up at all or anything, or if it's just...
I have no idea. But here's the context. That little building in this
fantastic
alpine tundra. Pretty neat. And that was part of the Mission 66. That was a Mission 66 visitor center. This building is also a Rocky Mountain National Park. How many people have been to this building? Only a handful. Next time you go up to Rocky Mountain National Park, or even just Estes Park, because this building's in Estes Park, stop at this building, because it is a very, very important piece of architecture. Part of the reason is that it is designed by Taliesin Associated Architects. Has anybody ever heard of Taliesin Associated? It's basically the architecture firm that was founded by Wright to carry on his legacy after he passed away. And so this building is the closest thing we have to an authentic Frank Lloyd Wright building in Colorado. Not designed by Wright, but designed by people who were trained by Wright. And it follows all of Wright's principles. And it's a fantastic building. In fact, this exterior here, this stone exterior, it's real stone, but it's not a stone veneer like you might be used to, where typically when we have a stone exterior, it's just a veneer that we're gluing onto the outside of the building with mortar. In this case, these are actually panels where stone was taken from a quarry and it was put into a formwork. The formwork was filled with concrete so that it became concrete and rebar, so that it became an actual panel that was then installed on the outside of the building. And you see this technique done in a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright's works that were actually designed by Wright. So this is a very authentic thing for a Taliesin building to have. The other exterior piece here, you'll notice the metal work here. This is Corten steel. It's a steel that's designed to form a patina. It basically rusts, which then protects it from deterioration. And much of the building, this is really the I can't think of the word. This is the character defining features of this building: glass, stone, and the Corten steel.
What year is this building?
This building is 1966, so right at the end of Mission 66 is when this one was completed. This building, because of its connection to Wright and things like that, it actually was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2001, which was actually before it technically qualified to go on the register, because typically buildings need to be 50 years old. And it was not 50 years old when it was added to the register. It's great that it's on the register because, you know, while we often say that the National Register doesn't actually provide any meaningful protections, the one place that it does is against federal projects. So the federal government has committed to not wrecking this building. Thank goodness for that. Of course, when I was there, they were doing renovations, so I couldn't get into the building, so I just took photographs from the outside. I'm sure it's open now, so I need to get back up there myself and see the inside.
And the local architect on this was?
So,
Gordon Lee, wasn't it?
so the design architect in the building, and I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Casey. But we had a local architect here who's kind of like the local representative of Taliesin Associated Architects, a guy named Charles Gordon Lee, who was a graduate.
I knew him.
I'm sure Alan knew him.
I need to ping you more questions on him, Alan. I've been doing some digging.
He was a graduate of Taliesin. He was actually trained by Wright. I'm a real estate agent, so I see listings all the time where people are like, student of Frank Lloyd Wright designed this house, and it's never true. In the case of Charles Gordon Lee, however, he was actually trained by Frank Lloyd Wright and lived here in the Denver area.
And went on to train Bruce Sutherland, who we bring up a lot.
So,
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm like 90% sure that this building was also a reference.
for some of the architecture used in Dune and Blade Runner. Tell you 49.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let's go look at that. The other thing about this building is if you look at its floor plan is actually very similar to Taliesin West. So its whole shape from a plan standpoint was definitely informed by Taliesin West. The design of the Corten steel here on the outside, there's a couple of different interpretations. I don't know which one's official. One interpretation is that it's supposed to be like mountains and valleys. The other interpretation is it's supposed to represent Native American geometries and rug patterns. I don't know what the official answer is, though.
Could be doing both.
Could be both. Another Mission 66 Visitor Center, one that unfortunately is no longer in use, is the Farview Visitor Center in Mesa Verde National Park. This is what it looks like. It's this little round building, and it's such a neat building. It was designed by husband and wife team Joseph and Louise Marlowe from the Denver area. And it is still standing today, but unfortunately it outgrew its function and they had to build a new visitor center in the park. So I don't know what's being done with the building presently. Here's some wonderful, beautiful elevations of the building here. The top level of the building is really the visitor center area of the building, and it was designed to function in a flexible way. So you could have a theater here and then like an exhibit over here, or it could be made a bigger theater by actually this desk is meant to break into smaller pieces so that you can expand the seating. And then the lower level of the building is park offices that have been built into the visitor center.
Your pocket's talking.
Oh, is it? Is it my pocket that's
It's
talking?
not mine.
Google listening to you, Adam?
Oh, weird.
It dials in.
It is.
This is very similar to Neutra's cyclorama at Gettysburg.
Which, is that one been knocked down?
Yes.
That one's been demolished. So that's an example of a Mission 66 building that no longer exists, unfortunately. You don't have to look very far in Mesa Verde to see what informed the design of the building. You can go to the next one. And across the street from the building is also this wonderful building, Farview Terrace. This is a concession building. It's common to have these buildings kind of supporting the visitor center, a separate concession building, but this building was also done as part of Mission 66.
Are the bungalows?
I don't know who designed it. I couldn't figure that out.
It could be with that roof line, though.
Did
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Was the Marlowe building knocked down, or were you?
Oh, the cyclorama at Gettysburg was not.
Oh, okay.
And one more slide, I think, here. You can also see there's some buildings in the background with butterfly roofs. That's Farview Lodge. That was built in the 1970s, so that was not an Mission 66 project.
Very elegant buildings.
So next time you're headed to the national parks to go check out some nature, I highly recommend you go check out some architecture as well. We have several Mission 66 visitor centers here in Colorado. There's 3 of them at Rocky Mountain National Park. I didn't feature the third one. It's not as interesting as the other 2. There's one at Dinosaur National Monument. There used to be one in Mesa Verde, but that one's, or not Mesa Verde, Great Sand Dunes, but that one's gone. Colorado National Monument has one, a really cool one. And those are all the ones I can think of off the top of my head, but there's a couple others. So I highly encourage you check those out. And does anybody want a copy? The article is on page 174. So I'll pass these out to whoever wants a copy. I do. I have a whole box.
This is perfect. But actually, could we start with the steamboat one? Because this kind of ties in with what Adam was saying. You start with the, Steamboat Perry. Yay! So this is actually a great tie to the Frank Lloyd Wright aesthetics and construction methods that Adam was highlighting. So this is in Steamboat at the Perry Mansfield's camp. So some of you may have heard of that camp before. I had an opportunity to tour it with CPI last year. And so this is a pretty well-known theater, dance, performing arts camp nestled in the mountains of Steamboat near Strawberry Hot Springs. And that was one thing that really stood out walking up to this building was the Usonian influence. It's really low and long, and it's using a construction method that, again, other architects used it, but Frank Lloyd Wright, you see it in his buildings as well, where kind of like Adam was saying, it's a very monolithic use of stonework, and it's kind of like he's taken those more of the stone walls that we typically see in mid-century buildings specifically and kind of like flipped it inside out. We're seeing a lot more raw concrete on the outside. And when I was here, how they described it is that different from the panels Adam was describing. In this case, there was a concrete form with rebar, and they filled it with concrete and stones rocks that they gathered locally. So you get this really raw texture, almost unfinished texture. And then you have a lot of glass actually for such a low building with a really wide roof. Because again, similar to some of the other lodges and mountain buildings that Adam was showing, in Steamboat you get a ton of snow. You have to think about the snow load. You have to think about the light and thermal with this site. And I also love that you could see it in some of the landscaping too, where they use the same method for the exterior stonework in the walkways as well in here. So you can go to the next slide. And then this is just a shot when you're inside the space. It's really warm. So you have a lot of windows and deep eaves. But I think that the tint of coloring used in the concrete made the space feel really warm. And then the floors, my recollection is that they were wood floors, and it kind of had a rusted red paint accent on all of the trim work and the beams. But my favorite piece was on the next one, where it had this central fire pit. Sadly, they did say they'd no longer use this. Ventilation was a huge issue with this design, but I really fell in love with the concept of this being at a camp, and so it's kind of huddling around the fire, but they've brought it into this theater. This building specifically is a theater as part of the camp. And so it still kind of functions as a gathering space where it's when you come in the building and it's in the center of kind of like the waiting area where people would wait before they're able to go in the theater and where people would leave after they see a performance. So it's still functioning as kind of that hub. And again, it seems the camp was built, my recollection is that these portions were in the 40s and 50s. So again, it's very modern and very simple aesthetics. We're using steel in here, very simple materials. but I think it leaves a really lasting local impression too. And I don't remember who the architect was on this. The whole camp is a little bit of a hodgepodge. You have like log cabins in here from like the 1920s. It's been added over time. So this is really one of the more modern speaking structures on the site.
And do you know if who Antoinette Perry was?
I mean, she was one of the founders of the camp. I remember it was 2 women.
Her the Tommy Awards
Yes.
named after her.
Oh, okay.
Really?
So then hopping over to a different mountain town. So this is kind of some independent research I've been trying to put together. So this seemed like a good opportunity to share it and kind of see if anyone else has noticed these or has information on them. But in mountain travels, I've noticed prefab components that are kind of hidden in our mountain landscape. So this is a trailhead bathroom that when I was walking up to it, you know, it's very typical, feels very, I would say 70s because of the diagonal paneling. It has a metal roof. Like nothing to me really stands out specifically about this. It feels like it has that, I would say like Park Service aesthetic of like simple materials. You have some narrow but tall vertical windows and louvers here for ventilation. So I walk up to it pretty unassuming. And then this is just as you're approaching the door for the men's and women's. And then I walk in and I was like, whoa, this is a prefab bathroom camouflaged as a little more cabin aesthetic restroom. And I've seen this in a couple places, like at ski resorts. I've seen it at the lift lines when you look at the little control booths. A lot of those are similar, where they're actually camouflaged to look like little cabins and look more rustic. But if you actually look at the windows and the shapes of them, you'll start to see that there's rubber gaskets, and the windows are curved, but they have this wood slapped on them. So this is the research part of like, I want to find more images, I want to find documentation. I'm sure there's a catalog of these somewhere, but this one really struck me because you open the door and truly it feels like they just dropped this in the woods and built the cabin around it. Even the toilet is integral, the pit toilet. And another thing about this was, I mean, as far as the Park Service goes, I would think that cleanliness, this was probably a plus at the time when they were implementing these, because you really don't have cracks and crevices. Everything is seamless. So it was just something I hadn't seen before, and I was like, this is weird, but I'm going to document it.
So 99% sure. I think the 2 that I'm thinking of that have like the same bathroom, I want to say is the Mount Falcon Trailhead. I think has this exact same one. Because the Mount Falcon has like this, and then it has like that old cabin that's up there that has a view. It's kind of cool. And then I want to say that even the Browns Creek Canyon, the one that's in Nathrop by the Mount Princeton Hot Springs, I'm pretty positive has this same setup too.
Yeah.
It's not that one, it's another one in that valley that I was, but I'm pretty sure it's that one. Because I know I have seen that exact setup. I'm 99% sure that Mount Falcon has the exact same one though. And that one's just the one that if you go up 285, dive into Indian Hills, and up the mountain, it's that trailhead.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one.
It's not far out.
How can you tell it's a prefab building?
Yeah, go to the next slide, Josh. Yeah, so my guess is this is probably a fiberglass mold, essentially.
Oh, that's what the interior walls are, is fiberglass?
Well, they're concrete, right? Or are they?
I think they're fiberglass.
Oh.
Yeah, it seemed like a molded product
Oh.
when I was using it, when I was observing it.
You're hanging out, taking pictures in the bathroom.
Yeah. Why are you taking pictures of the bathroom? I know, my friends were like, what are you running back there to do? Yeah, and then, if you picture, we have kind of this skin of the bathroom where you have the floor, the walls, the toilet itself, these openings where you have, and maybe there were seams here where you have some of these really tall window openings, but then you can see these didn't have a ceiling. So that would be something where we have the wood trim there. It's probably a gyp ceiling or a resilient ceiling material. So assuming that that's not part of the prefabricated component, so it is a little bit of a kit of parts. And as Kimber was saying, like, that kind of kit of parts would, the idea being that it probably made it easier for them to get these supplies up to these more rural outback locations, and probably, I mean, the thought being that it's simpler material to load, probably cheaper. Prefab tends to kind of prove itself as not necessarily always being cost savings, but it seems like it's evidence of an interesting experiment.
Jason Messing's uncle was an architect of the Parks Department during this time, and he was one of the main guys.
Oh.
And he might have. You should ask Messing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, see, this is why I was like, this is a random thing to show, but I want to get more information on them. But yeah, so next time when I share development on it, hopefully I have some more information specifically about the ski resorts, with ski season starting any day now.
Wasn't any snow up there today?
It would be great just to be able to document more of the gondolas themselves and some of the really fun, like, modern.
Like Winter Park that has those really cool hexagon buildings.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, yeah, and like the sun deck, like some of the sun decks now, and yeah, the control booths and all those kind of things that are kind of hidden on the slopes. So yeah, that's my.
I believe Sutherland did Breckenridge. He may have done Winter Park too.
Do we want to do these?
Oh really?
Whose photos are out here? We'll start with these.
Well, there's somebody remote that's by the screen.
Cool building.
Is somebody remote trying to speak?
There's a chat if you want to hit the chat.
No, there's nothing in the chat about it.
Nothing. Going. Going.
Do we know what folder that's in?
It's not in a folder.
It's not in a folder, but it's some good stuff. All right, we'll see if they join later.
Catskills.
Catskills.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
So, full disclosure, I kind of was misinterpreted about the prompt for this. I thought it was just winter, snowy architecture, but
Also works.
so basically, I am the co-founder of what's called the Borscht Belt Historical Marker Project, and we're an organization in where I'm from in New York, where we focus on making historical markers for this area in the Catskill Mountains that was this huge vacation destination during the 20th century, mainly for New York Jewish people. But basically everything closed in the 80s, 90s, everything's abandoned. This building, for example, has been completely torn down. So there's not a trace of anything left. And so we've, since 2022, we're down to like 18 markers in all the area. This will be kind of a brief presentation. I'll give one maybe at a later date of the full, because there's a wealth of modernism in these resorts. But anyways, this one was the Concord Resort. It was roughly around 1,200 rooms and was a very modernist building. It was kind of the Las Vegas sort of resort of the Catskills. You can go. So this building is called Ski Mini. It was built in the 1960s. I think around 1958. It was a kind of similar to Adam's your project or presentation. It was a park visitor center for a small state park in New York called Lake Minnewaska. It's got this fabulous roof line. You can the next one. Yeah, there's another one view of that.
That's dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, so these Catskill resorts, so there was over 1,000 of them. They pretty much all had some sort of mid-century modern building on their campus of resorts. and had so many different fun features. Let me go this next
Know
one.
anything about the architects?
There's very little known about the architects. So there's some of the bigger resorts. Again, if I had thought of this better, I would have provided more photos of the more well-known buildings. But one of the big architects, actually for the Concord, which is featured here. You keep on this one. Was Morris Lapidus, who is credited with a lot of Miami Beach resorts. And so he had a lot of either associates that would design these resorts, or this resort himself. He designed himself. And so there's a very big Miami and Catskills connection as far as architecture goes. Keep going.
Is that the architect for Fontainebleau?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, one of these resorts built the Fontainebleau. So they had a lot of these resorts had either second resorts in Miami, they expanded down there, and the Fontainebleau was this resort called the Laurels that was up there. This is an example of a solarium, they called them. And indoor pools this is probably the mecca for indoor pools. Again, I'll do another separate presentation on them because they're insane. But essentially this whole idea of bringing the outdoors in with these giant plate glass windows were one of the many features of these resorts. And there's a lot of fun imagery for them.
I just want to plant myself in a pool there and go hang
The
out.
winter time, wasn't it?
I'm sorry?
The indoor pool, glass enclosed indoor pool is a big draw in the winter time.
Yeah, and actually, the indoor pool, oddly enough, was one of the many factors of why the region kind of went in decline. There's a huge boom for these indoor pools. Every resort had to have them, and then they went bankrupt because of that. Because they were trying to compete to like this one and then this one at Grossinger's. That's outstanding example. And it was always the funny thing of like going back to the city and being like, well, I don't want to go to Kutcher's Resort because they don't have an indoor pool. But it's like, do you swim? No. But when I want to go back to the city, I want to tell all my friends at the club that I went to this resort that had indoor pool. It was like that specific. Here's another view of this skating rink at the Concord. This also was kind of the building phase for these resorts when they really became indoor palaces. So originally, like you'll see this building on the left, this kind of older building. A lot of them were kind of the layouts of like camps we have out here, where you have small buildings not connected. The winter idea of opening in the winter, because the majority of them were open in the summer, was really spiked with the construction of the indoor pools, and a lot of these big resorts kind of sprung up, and the whole focus was instead of on the nature, escaping the city heat, escaping city air, to indoor life. And then here's an example of a lobby with this weird winter mural in the background, but still kind of goes with this theme. These lobbies were really elaborate. This is kind of a very downscaled of some of the ones that were up there.
Just not the lamp in the top.
Without this one, yeah, I love that lamp. The furniture is just incredible. It's all gone. This is a fun image of a skating rink with them sunbathing.
So funny.
She looks fantastic.
Yeah, and then this resort was called Grossinger's. This was the most famous of the resorts. This hotel had its own airport, a huge celebrity hub, and their whole focus was bringing the wood into the space. So their indoor pool was this. Of course, I wish I put an image in here, but it was incredible structure of wood beams and just all exposed and polished wood was this resort's signature. Here's also what I was paid
So cool. These photos are so
Oh, those polished photos. You should make them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Catskills should be a book, probably.
oh, absolutely. And a lot of these images, we with the project discovered there's a publishing agency that had saved thousands of images of original color negatives, drawings, and we have exclusive access to that. One of my colleagues on the project does a presentation for Modernism Week. He'll be doing it this year, but I'm happy to do one here for those not calling Modernism Week. Yeah, this is the.
So are you saying they've all been knocked down?
No. So you'll see after these older images, I have gone up and explored, trespassed on some of the properties that have these resorts still left. So you'll see kind of what the current state of some of them are.
Did you visit these? Did you visit these?
I've never been there.
Yeah, this is a building that's still left. This was the Neville's indoor skating rink. Of course, with the indoor pool phrase, you got to have indoor skating rinks. This building is still in existence. You'll see it pretty soon of what it looks like today. And yeah, this is another skating rink.
Slope in the background, is that like some sort of ski lift or something?
Yeah, so they had a ski mountain. Yeah, a ski mountain that was really just a ski hill. But they thought of every activity under the sun at these resorts, anything to get people up there.
There's that great building again.
Building again. Yeah, so these are some of my images I've taken over the years of going up to these resorts that are still left. This was a smaller resort called Recreational Farm. It was actually a home for tuberculosis patients. But they had this incredible mid-century dining room. It's from the outside. Very primitive architecture for up there, but still unique, I guess. That's the entrance of it. And then kind of the old and new. A lot of these resorts would do things of like covering up their older buildings by putting false mid-century fronts on them. Kind of all fun stuff like that. This was the ice inside of a building. Those nice plate glass windows. Wow. This is the Neville Resort, one of the ones with the giant skating rink. And kind of, you can kind of see the, I would say the multiple sort of renovations. You got the old building from the 20s over there, the 70s, and then this is the front in the 50s here. So they just really built stuff on top of each other. So this is the interior of the ice skating rink. It's still there. It actually has, Brie, it has that fireplace thing, but more of a sunken living room style.
That is a real shame that that building's. It almost looks like the one that was the big resort in Hawaii that got torn down. That had a similar building to this, and I was trying to think of the.
Oh yeah, big Palm or something like that.
It's gonna bother. I'll think of it by the end of the night. But there is a building that was very similar to that one in Hawaii that they had an open air building, but they let it completely deteriorate and tore it down.
This one also really unknown architect. It was kind of. They used a lot of architects from New York or just students. So this was, fortunately, is not known, but really interesting building.
Those glue lamps are crazy. Like, structurally, what's holding all that?
It's kind of my guess is good as yours.
Russian beams.
Yeah.
It could be put together a little like that. What is it? The Methodist church that Macho did on Shepherd in Littleton. One with the big praying hands. It's probably a little bit of that same.
Yeah, I would imagine so. You can keep going on this one. This one has this crazy butterfly roof, or I guess you call it accordion roof.
Folded plate.
What's that?
Folded plate.
Folded plate.
More concrete.
Yeah.
It looks like it might be.
Yeah. Where's Scott Warnock?
Yeah, that's one Scott needs to document.
Yeah.
This one, unfortunately, as of last year, there's a lot of Orthodox populations that buy these resorts, so they completely modernized this as of last year. But it was still sad like this, but very cool. The interior, ready for that.
Yeah.
What is that? So this had these fabulous plaster ceiling features in this. They call these nightclubs theaters.
Wow.
Like inside that's.
That is neat.
It almost feels theme park-esque.
Yeah,
honestly.
definitely. This was like one of the major Googie buildings that were up there. especially this interior.
Stage. Did you see the is it Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Yeah,
This is where they went.
so Dirty Dancing and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is kind of like the main comparisons. to
Talk
people.
about the Catskills, yeah.
They did a few episodes. Set.
Almost a whole season. Probably Catskills on Miss Maisel. Wasn't that like what was inside Tom's? Josh? I don't know why I said John. Josh, wasn't that inside Tom's something like that? You said there was like a folded plate hovering like down below where they had the entrance area in Tom's. I don't know if we'll look at it up.
It was flat, but it was a folded flat ceiling. Boy, those are big.
Yeah, they're huge.
Can't believe Rue's letting this all run.
Yeah, it's very crazy. It's very little known up here, especially out west.
Yeah, I had no idea it had.
This is an A-frame indoor pool at this hotel called Hotel Evans. This is actually still used today, thankfully. But yeah, this is one of the examples of very extravagant indoor pools they would have.
Gary.
And things don't last there like they do here, abandoned.
Yeah, especially with the humidity. And these buildings were very cheaply put up because they were trying to, keep up with the competition of everything.
They were all single glazed, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
That looks like the Howard Johnson's lobby building.
It does look like nobody. Look at all those glues.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, there's another kind of A-frame. Thank you. This is still used today. It's a performing arts camp, but this is the entrance to their nightclub theater.
That's what single pane.
I was just about to say that's what happens to single pane in humidity.
Yeah, with a swimming pool on the other side.
That's what happens. You want to know.
Got Stage Door Manor.
So when there's a theater.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Now you pretty much signed yourself out for a Catskill.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for it. Throw yeah.
Do that copy.
Copy of. Okay. Wait a minute. I got to figure out how to do this. Okay. Beautiful.
I'm Amy Amadon. I am with City of Denver Landmarks, but I've been there 2 years. But before that, I was with the City of Aspen for 31 years. So I took this assignment seriously for like mountain modern architecture. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what is up there. So if we're going to talk about the beginnings of modern mountain architecture in Colorado, we should talk about these two. Herbert Bayer, a Bauhaus master, came to New York City to escape Nazi Germany, and then was brought to Aspen in 1946 by Walter Pepke, who was an American businessman who discovered Aspen. I'll sort of compress the story, and had an idea of creating kind of a utopia there for mind, body, and spirit. He helped found the Aspen Music Festival, Aspen Skiing Company, and Aspen Institute. And he brought Herbert Bayer there to design the total environment, architecture, marketing materials, everything. Fritz Benedict was a 10th Mountain soldier. He also studied with Frank Lloyd Wright, truly. And after the war, he had skied at Aspen a little bit. He had trained at Camp Hale, and he had skied on the weekends at Aspen, the West Ski before Walter Pepke on Aspen Mountain. He had returned there after the war. Fritz Benedict ended up marrying Herbert Bayer's wife's sister, and the two men collaborated on a number of projects in a very interesting way, melding the Bauhaus and the Wrightian ideas that they had. And the first thing that they did together, if you'll go to the next slide, was the sun deck on Aspen Mountain in 1946. I think the first ski lodge, the first purpose-built ski lodge in the United States was at Sun Valley in 1936, but that was a National Park Service type of building. This is modernism. First, I think, example of modernism brought to ski architecture in the United States. Unless someone knows something I don't know. Beautiful building, perched right at the top of the mountain, 12,000 and some feet altitude. Octagonal, I think. And the design of the building, the roof kind of tilted inward towards that fireplace there. I think the idea was the snow was to melt towards there and that there was some way that it would drain. I don't know that it completely worked. The image I have down at the bottom there is just kind of showing you how Beyer, he truly designed art. He designed so many things that made an imprint on the town. He designed posters and marketing materials. He had his photo montage techniques there where you see him combining all kinds of imagery with the sun deck in the background there. This building was still in existence until 1999. If you skied Aspen Mountain, you would have been in it because they sort of expanded and expanding, kind of grabbed around about 2/3 of this building. It was demolished, and now there's a different sun deck at the top of the mountain now, unfortunately. But it was there for many, many years.
Josh, what does that say in the corner? Because I can't quite see what you. I'm curious.
Yes.
From the past to the present at the sun deck on Ajax Hill.
Thank you.
All right, so next slide. So when I got to Aspen in 1993, the historic preservation program was all about the Victorians that were there. Aspen was a silver mining town. And so all of the Victorians that were still left were landmarked, which was wonderful. But I got into my head that we should look at the ski era and the modern architecture that was there. There was this whole rich history of what had happened in the town when Pepe had come and the ski architecture. And there are some really incredible architects that were in that community. Eero Saarinen, Marcel Breuer, just some really incredible things that had occurred there. So we did a comprehensive survey of those buildings of that time, collected them and brought forward a mass group of buildings to be designated historic in 1999, and that wasn't very popular. I don't know whether that was the right thing to do or not. We were very fearful that if we discussed it at length that we would trigger demolitions. That had happened at certain periods when the Victorians were proposed for demolition, so we brought it forward. We happen to have a city council that stood up for the idea, even though they weren't necessarily people who were interested in this type of architecture. We had a judge, we had a teacher, we had people who weren't necessarily, as I say, experts about this, but they wanted to protect the community, and so they stood behind it and they put demolition delay ordinances in place, and we fought for 15 years over what to do. There were a number of buildings that were landmarked without owner consent. There were a few that people volunteered. And what exists today is a heavily incentive-based voluntary program. There are about 50 landmarks that have been designated since this conversation began. So with that, I'm just going to tell you about one, and then I have a couple of other examples of interesting buildings that are more in Peking County. So Ski Magazine had a program for a long time where they had a ski house of the month, ski home of the month. And the first one, it was a prototype home. I think there were plans available that people could buy and build a ski home. And the first one was designed by Fritz Benedict, who I just mentioned. So here, I know this is hard to read, and I will read a little bit of it for you just because it's pretty cute. So here is a deceptively small vacation home with all the important ingredients of expandability. Equipped with double-deck bunks, it can sleep 11 people. My copy isn't very good either. It complements the mountain landscapes. It's simple without being dull. and it's completely honest. There are no false beams, fake peeling plaster corners, or Tyrolean gimmickry. The house contains 1,200 square feet. There's an additional 216 square feet of storage in the eaves, under the eaves. The space can be locked off, which is so important for a skeet house, which can be rented or used by the owner's friends, on and on. The copy over there, which I just found on eBay last night, which blew my mind, is this home built in Aspen. The same family still owns it today, which is a miracle in that community. So it was built in 1967, it says there, the Gary family. What does it say? It cost $12,000. I looked, and Zillow's calling it $5.4 million now, which is probably not accurate.
It could be even higher, Jose.
The house is tiny. It's on a very strange long lot. It sits right on the Roaring Fork River, where it would not be allowed to be built today because it's in the protected stream margin. The family, of course, it's been many years, and now there's kids and grandkids and this and that, so they wanted to keep it, but it was worth a fortune. What do we do? And so I mentioned we have this, not we, but the city of Aspen had this incentive-based program. So in exchange for them volunteering to preserve it forever, they were allowed a lot split. So there's now a duplex next to it, which isn't the greatest piece of architecture. It did go through design review. It is what it is. They were allowed to create transferable development rights to sell away what they could have theoretically added to this house. They've sold it to other homes throughout the community for lots and lots of money. They're happy. The community's happy. The house is preserved. If you want to show the next page or next slide, you can see what it looks like from the front. It's just the sweetest little A-frame kind of structure from the street. And on the back side, as you saw, it has a lovely glassy facade and the view of the river, and it's wonderful. Okay, I'll show you a couple other examples. There's a John Lautner house in Aspen, 1982. If you have been to Aspen, this is actually in Pitkin County, so not in the city limits. It is not protected. If you have been to Aspen and you come through the roundabout, just as you're about to come into town, off on the right, there's the very beautiful Aspen Chapel, that steeple. That is so iconic as you're looking towards Aspen Highlands. And right behind it, you see this dome-shaped, grass-covered roof. That is this house, the Turner House. Apparently, its design was inspired to look like a mound of snow at the base of the mountain, which it does look like. Here, we're seeing it kind of from the other side. It is an absolutely incredible structure, like all of his buildings. This plan view shows you that there's this concrete span that only touches the ground at these 3 points. And then underneath it is the living space. I can't imagine how anyone built this shape. I have been inside of it. It's utterly incredible. So I just provided a couple of views of that building for you.
Doesn't the dining room rotate out on a pivot?
The windows slide open. If anyone hasn't seen it, there's a wonderful documentary film about John Lautner. I can't remember what it's called now, but if you ever get a chance to watch it, it's great. Next slide. And then the final example is a Harry Weiss house, which is in Snowmass Village. Harry Weiss is was a Chicago architect who came to Aspen at the request of Walter Pepke, his wife, Elizabeth Pepke. He designed a building, the Gibbon Institute, for University of Colorado. It was an incredible building that was their only property on the western slope. It was a place that people in the medical profession came to gather, and one of the things that has been incredible about Aspen is that people would come there to retreat and get together and exchange ideas, this Aspen idea. I won't go on too much of a tangent. I'm a graduate of CU. CU tore the property down, which I will never forgive them for. Harry Weiss designed that building, and he designed some other things in the Aspen area. This house is in Snowmass, 1969. Here's a picture of the inside. Everyone hold your stomach for a second when I show you the next slide, which is it today. It is still standing, and you can see the facade down there. You see the concrete wall. I'm sorry. We always had these porthole windows. That was one of the things that he always included on his buildings. But this is so classic to that area. Someone decided as the building started to age, let's throw some logs on it. This is the sort of thing that happens, and I could point to so many examples in that area where the original idea starts to get buried and lost to the point that this is a teardown. No one can understand what this is anymore, and this is at risk. I have no idea what. I'm surprised it's still standing, honestly, because it looks like this. As I mentioned, there was a Marcel Breuer house in Pitkin County that was painted pink by the time I saw it, and it was horrific, and it was beyond recognition. It was not appreciated, and it was torn down. So maybe someone will recognize and restore this. I hate to end on a bad note, but here's this wonderful house in Snowmass Village. There are many other great examples of modernism throughout Pitkin County and in Aspen. Many of them are protected. And that's what I have to show you.
Now you know why I got the terrible log patios, because people are like, well, if my kid leaves out these two side doors, they're going to lock right out the patio. But instead of just putting plexiglass there, which would have been a logical decision, they're like, let's make it more mountain. Yeah.
It matches their log bed, Kimber. Okay, who's next? Do we got any takers on this stuff? Is Len here?
There's another thing in the chat.
Wait.
Jake said the chat has like comments.
Okay. I can hear you. Audio working now. Please speak into the microphone more closely. If Len's not here, I mean, these are some great buildings. Maybe we roll through these.
That's the one at Dinosaur, isn't it?
Yeah.
Called Mix in the Dirt.
So yeah, this is a Mission 66 building at Dinosaur.
Doesn't look like this anymore. Actually, it's been renovated. It's in my article what it looks like today. So it's worth looking at. This is actually on the Utah side of Dinosaur, but it's the cooler of the two visitor center in Dinosaur. So we included it in the article, and it's definitely, as you can see, when it was new, it was an incredible building. That glass structure actually encloses fossils that you can go in and see. The round building was offices, research, and things like that. Unfortunately, the round building had major structural issues, which is part of what prompted them to make major changes to the building. But the glass part is still largely intact. And of course, that's a
Hartling.
Hartling.
Up in Boulder.
Also Hartling.
Also Herbert.
Hartling Prefab in
That's Vale, isn't it?
Vale.
Is that the one up Vale? It's the condo one?
Yeah.
There's one of those units on if it's the one in Vale that's on the market.
Yeah, there is one on the market right now, if you're interested.
Another Hartling based on a seed pod. Mr. Hartling's son, Joel, still has the pod that this house was designed after.
I'd love to know how he has that art.
Another Hartling, also up in Boulder. Another Hartling in Boulder. The Men Kick house. I think this has a Miami Vice interior in it, right?
Wow.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it, Ben?
I see. I'm trying to remember. I think this was
This is the one with the like 3 layers. That has the rock in the bedroom, the rock patio.
I think this one was okay the last time it was on the market.
I thought it was all mirrored and white. Maybe
No,
not.
you're thinking of a different one.
That might have been one of the public
I
days.
think that one has been under renovation.
Yeah, so
It was
this
just finished not too long ago. Arc 11 did the renovation. It was like a 6 or 7 year.
Yeah, I think they would be very careful.
Yeah.
This one is a Tom Nixon. We've covered this building before in some research I've done about Nixon and his work with His firm that he later joined was NBBBB, and I'm blanking on all the bees' names right now.
Was Nixon and the Three Bears.
Yes, as Len lovingly calls them, Nixon and the Three Bears. But this is in Moffat County, and I'm blanking on if it's in. I think it's in Craig. I want to say so. It's Last we knew, this building was at risk of demolition, I think 2 years ago when I was really doing a deep dive on it. But it's interesting because he has another building he did where very similar materials, like again, the international style with like some cool Usonian inspired elements. That's actually on the western slope. But this was a great building.
And this is a renovation, right? This is built in front of a 19th century courthouse?
Yeah, actually it is. You're right. So this was built in front of more of a... I'm trying to remember. That one was like a Beaux-Arts style building, I want to say. And so they were hired to do the addition and renovation. Okay. So there's a more classical building hidden behind this one. Yeah, good memory, Josh.
That's... What is this?
No idea.
This is going up past Leadville if you're going to go over Independence. The perfect villain's lair. Isn't it? Good grief. Beautiful building.
By a helicopter. That's a Papa Cristo.
Papa Cristo.
I can't remember the name of that house, but that house is super cool.
And this is a curried house.
They've done some restorations, but it was very original, a little rough when it last sold on the market. It last sold for only like $625, so it's pretty scary.
It's in Boulder. Is that
in Boulder?
The hills above.
Isn't it like almost Netherland, I think? I don't know. It's
no, it's not that far.
Where it was.
I don't recognize this. Seems Heartling-like.
I want to say that's another Hertling, and that one might be... Or is that one the one that's the Wagoner? That one I think is actually a Hobie Wagoner. And that one is... Shoot. I know exactly where that one is. It's a Hobie Wagoner for sure. And I want to say that one was on the market 8-9 years ago probably, but I think that one's a Wagoner for sure. Might be in there.
No, he has a Papa Cristo.
Oh, is that Papa Cristo?
That's Papa
No,
Cristo.
that's not the one I'm thinking of. Because there's one in Netherlands that's a Wagoner that was very similar to that.
What else do we have? Just me?
Looks like it's just you, unless somebody can claim the photos in the main directory there.
In the main directory?
We can still go through those ones.
It might say who uploaded it if you click on it.
Yeah.
And hit the little I. No, so just, you have it clicked, so go up in the upper right hand corner and click the I that has a circle around it.
I don't. No.
Or if you go
Go further, go right.
Oh, here.
There you go.
Oh.
Scroll up a little bit on the right hand side there. It should say you creating it.
Creator MK.
No, it's just their email.
But we can roll through them. Wait a minute. Michael Knorr, Architects.
I think, does it say Core or was it NKNO? Or yes. Yeah,
Knorr.
Yeah.
Coming back to the one you were just on. Yeah, that one. So I went to this presentation last year at Modernism about the Black Mountain College. And Annie Albers, one of the women who kind of came to teach some classes with Annie Albers, went off and started this rug business, this hook rug business, because hook rugs were very popular for women to kind of make, kind of as an at-home project. Think large-scale needlepoint. But then she took it to the next level and would work with modernist artists, and ended up getting divorced. She lived in like Reston, Virginia, outside of D.C. And so she when she got divorced from her husband, she moved the business to Italy outside of Rome and hired all these young women to do this weaving. So these were really popular in the late 60s, 70s. We have one in our mountain place up in Keystone, but this looks like one as well. And I don't know if they're doing that Black Mountain class, but this woman did this whole presentation on these. They're very shaggy, but definitely look like a piece of art that someone painted. And I think that's what that is.
Color.
And they were they must have been selling them in Vail, because we had one as well. So there must have been a shop up there selling these rugs.
Could make sense. Supernican. Bayer designed rugs as well. I got to see one in here sent on the floor. Watch you guys laying everything. I was like, you're walking, but he's. Anyways.
One his wife need a reason. Stopped in jail.
It's nice work.
That's true. That one he hits it. Double boots.
I like leaving these logs out and infilling with glazing. Ed Durrell Stone did a house that was like it was maybe several antique log houses that had been put together as pavilions and linked by these glassy connections. Yeah.
This looks like those toys.
One of the things that I think is cool about some of the mountain homes is that they are the prefab homes. So they were doing, took the prefab of the mid-century and turned them into mountain homes. My mom's house is one. Built in the 90s, but it looks very much like it could have been a mid-century home with big front window wall, 19-foot ceiling in that living room. Very dramatic.
I should have brought it for sure of our we have a mountain house in Idaho.
That's dramatic.
I was thinking it had to be called pop.
The slideshows are for fun. Where's Blend up a little more?
Well, like I'm gonna get back into the mountain. Maybe our share of this stuff isn't like anymore.
What was this from Josh's Adventures? Josh?
Me!
Polivnick? Never.
Okay, so more of a study on Norton Polivnick in the mountains. There's the guy. The architect that did my house, among others, and we did a lengthy program about him several months back. The material that I'm going to show here tonight I knew about, but I actually forgot to put into the program. A community called Sage Creek Canyon, Lariat Loop Drive. Before Polivnick's early death, he was developing a community that would have been a sort of a ski-in kind of housing development. At the time of his death, they had cleared the runs, gearing up. There's actually a few newspaper articles about it.
He was doing it with a partner, but I can't remember the partner.
He dies. This is outside of Silverthorne, just north of town, a few minutes, right? Dies. Some of the ski runs are cut, and this road is laid in there, and one house is built. The rest of the project never gets completed. This is the view from that loop road that would have been part of this community. And the one house that was completed was his own, right there in the middle. And Adam got this photograph from one of the daughters. And it's interesting for me to see him doing work in another part of our state. A lot of the same moves that he's doing down here in town and other parts, but here we get steep roofs. Use its similar materials, outpainted siding, things like that. Random windows that respond nicely to the spaces. Sort of these carved out areas, but it is, a rather strange and unassuming house. This is mid to late 60s, mid 60s. And he's still using the same window system that he used in 1954.
The awning window.
The Anderson Flexi Vent. And by the way, this single sliding glass door is the glazing that faces that incredible view.
Yeah. I like what your initial response was when I sent this photo to you. Notice you said
That's awesome. That's him.
you felt like he was being inspired by the old mills in the ghost town.
Bill, I didn't see that. Yeah. Hey, why is that a door? If there's nowhere to go to.
What do you mean? The slider?
Yeah.
Is it a slider or is it just a big?
Or is that just a big single pane?
It looks like a 5-foot slider to me, but
I think it's a big single pane though. So where's the slider?
it's a dark slider. With it looks like it's 6'8", which matches his entry door down here.
Yes, the big whatever it is, that window faces that mountain view.
Yeah. So that view is what that window looks out at. I am assuming, it would be rather tempting without walking this. I'm not sure what the spaces are. I'm assuming that primary low space, the main entrance to the house is actually this access road. You drop down into the front of the building. I'm assuming that this low portion is the living space, maybe bedrooms and the chisel.
The stone for the fireplace, that big window's in the living room.
Yep. And then you have the view to take in from the upper and lower patio there.
Polivnick was he was trained by Walter Grope, yes, a Harvard student. This is the house from roughly the same vantage point today. After he died, the house was sold. The rest of the community was sold off as lots as well. But you can see that it was expanded. So that porch that had been the sort of covered area is eliminated. Living room looks like it's greatly expanded. Off to the left as well.
And then that shed roof closest to us is an addition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not completely out of it.
I don't disagree with making the picture window bigger.
Yeah, I was just saying.
No. No, but you know what? It's a guy, if we go back and think about some of the other things that he did, even my low-cost housing was highly insulated, had limited glass. It was somebody that was concerned with how energy might how these buildings might perform. I could make up the story that the house may not have been able to perform appropriately had it had an enormous amount of glass.
And we don't know what utilities he might have had access to.
That's
Looks like there's an electrical service there, but
Who knows what was going to
he was depending on electric heat in the 1960s and 70s.
It's funny that the chisels don't have clear stories in them or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, not your classic shed style roof with the big clear story windows up on the top at all.
That's the street side of the house.
That was taken today.
Adam booked us this afternoon.
You were up there, so it was convenient for you.
I'm trying to let us know.
And
You
again,
can see they're buried up there.
how deep was the overhang off the front?
Not very deep.
So anyways, that's something that he did up there. More things. The Bogue Hideaway houses and the Bogue Haven houses in Drunken Font. Living in a second home. So this was a big deal in the 60s, folks starting to have expendable income and building all these second homes, kit homes, all this kind of stuff. Polivnick's office did these two buildings for a prefab company.
Bogue was a major Denver home builder who in the 1960s then went into the prefabrication business. He was prefabbing houses locally, but then also started prefabbing vacation homes based on the designs from Polivnick's office.
So did he have any hand in the Bogue tri-levels that are over in Virginia Village that?
Those are Bogue homes.
Yeah, I knew those were Bogue, but did Polivnick?
We don't know. We have our suspicions, but we don't.
Plumbing package, heating package, electrical wiring fixtures, prefabricated fireplace. Pretty neat buildings. Let's look at the plans. The brochure now flips. The Haven House on the left and the A-frame on the right. Look at this. Winter and summer, you'll enjoy your leisure time living in a second home.
Looks great.
It does, doesn't it?
I like this area.
Good plans.
I'm gonna go look tonight. I think I even sent Adam a bunch of this vintage Mount newspaper I found in a house. I think had these houses in it. I should have brought that.
Well, there was a promotion that was done where they were actually giving away I think it was a hideaway?
Haven.
Oh, it was a Haven home. As part of a contest that went in with I forget exactly what the promotion was, but it had to do with the promotion of Broomfield Heights, which is a neighborhood that ultimately became the city of Broomfield. They were promoting a modern house in Broomfield Heights, and as part of the promotion, they had actually built one of these. I think the Haven house at what is now the Cherry Creek Shopping Center. So they had one of these on display, and you could enter the contest and actually win one, where they would actually erect it on a site of your choice.
And you got a station wagon too.
And a station wagon.
60 country swire.
Had it contested.
Can I want to? Well, okay. If you do the Boys and Girls Club thing, you can win a house.
Built? I don't know. I assume that there's got to be some of them built.
I'll bet there's a ton of them in the mountains. Identifying them is easier said than done, but
Yeah, I have got to assume some of them were built. I love that in both plans the ladder it's really a ladder. This surface mounted ladder on the front of this bedroom wall.
So this A-frame looks a lot like one I showed way down. As you get down, you're going down 67, and it's like Sedalia, but it's not. It's that why can't I remember? It's West something. That goes down, and I swear there's a little neighborhood that has like community ponds that you can go fishing in, and I swear like it was even I wrote like that feels almost the exact same A-frame setup, and I know they aren't that varying, but that was very identical to one that I showed over there that overlooked one of those fishing ponds.
Really?
If I can go free digging, I'll see. I'll dig for you.
there were a lot of A-frame prefabbers at the time in the 1960s. National prefabbers selling A-frames, but also several local ones. One of which I hope to tell the story of here pretty soon. A different company than this one. But it would be great. I know Boulder's Historic Society or whatever, they actually did a great deep dive on A-frames in Boulder. I highly recommend searching for that on the internet and reading that.
There was almost a whole block of A-frames in Aspen.
That's right.
They've been going for a long time.
And these are as simple to build as A, B, C. I love the guy. Even you can build this. You could build this.
Yeah. And a lot of the prefabbers offer
enjoy all these things.
they would build it for you, or they would leave it for you to build yourself.
What I liked about this, so initially when I looked at it, before looking at the plane and stuff, I thought it was some sort of wonky, funky A-frame. It looks like it's actually just a big shed roof with cables from the ends of the joist all the way up to the top, and this looks like it's a shading device, shielding all that glazing. Yeah. So that's kind of neat.
So Polivnick did copyright these designs. Polivnick also copyrighted the Carey Holiday homes and Josh's home we hope to figure out how we get those documents from the Copyright Office one of these days so we can get more insight.
But this reminded me of a mountain house I did for a guy a long time ago that never got built. But it was a similar thing with the, the express structure, and it held back and all that glass. But his idea with this shading device is better than what I did. So, anyways.
Is that your rendering?
Yeah.
What? Go back. That's so cool, Joe.
That's a spinny one.
That's when I used to airbrush.
Pretty good.
All right. Well, do we have anything else? I think that's it. Thoughts? Other things to share?
Something to share before we all take off. And looking at the Taliesin bus stuff and so on. The AIA is having Historic Resources Committee at Pembroke Red Sun West. They have a symposium on historic preservation in the end of next month. If it was interesting, you can get EIA credits with lots of architects. Go to the EIA site and you can find that.
We'll have to gas up the Docomomo private jet.
Yes.
It's
Very great.
historic resources committee located. Historic preservation and age of disruption.
Yes, yeah.
And as a side note, Docomomo's main national symposium this year is in LA, but they're also doing a Palm Springs and Bakersfield side trip with it.
Good.
I have purchased the tickets for the Eames house. I don't know if there's any left, but you can go inside the Eames house, which is not something they've offered before.
Yeah.
I am excited because I will finally get to see the inside of a Lautner. I get to see that. So the Sheets Goldstein house is one of the tours as well. And then I'm doing the Schindler tour on Sunday, but they are doing a full, like, if you haven't done Modernism Week and you want like a full, like from LA to Palm Springs, a whole day at Palm Springs and then back to LA, it's Docomomo's offering it. You don't have to pay for the rest of the tour. They just sent that email out the other day. So if you're fascinated with any of that, this year's National Symposium looks pretty neat with all of that. So
Now, to be clear, the symposium there is not the national symposium.
that one
That
is just
the
another
International.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a much bigger deal
was
as far as Docomomo is concerned.
Yeah.
It's-
And all the things Kimber mentioned. For those of us that aren't able to go, Kimber and Ann will be doing a presentation and sharing with us.
They're going to take lots of
We'll take lots of photos. Lots of photos of me. If there's anybody who will take a lot of photos of me, it is
space on their phones.
Right, we don't have.
Yeah. But it is exciting that the international symposium is here.
It's rarely